We left off over here on Mem Aleph and Beis, where the Torah says regarding Truma, Gamatem, and since we're able to learn Shlichus of Truma from Get and from Korban Pesach, therefore the Gam remains superfluous. So what's the Gamatem come to teach me? Gamatem tells me that the originally wanted to say that the Shliach that you appoint for the Truma has to be a Ben Bris, he has to be a Jew. So the Gemara asks, it's understood he has to be a Jew, because if the person himself has no relevance to what he's trying to bring about, it's understood he can't be your agent. So Gemara says, no, a goy, a non-Jew, if he has a field in Eretz Yisrael and he tithes his own grain, the Truma is effective. It's a valid tithing. Let's get back to the Gemara here. So gedaite chamino, Eved lavet barateru klal avoiviko chovim bari Eved. It's understood why can't he be a shliach to receive the get? Because he's lav barateru, he has no relevance to marriage. So logically, we understand he can be a shliach. Avloko chovim hol v'isi b'truma denavshek. If he'd want to tithe his own truma, didnan ovidko chovim v'akusi shetormu. A non-Jew or a kusi who has a field in Eretz Yisrael, and they go and they tithe their own produce. Trumasa truma. The truma is effective. So we see bringing about this type of result is what? They have relevance to it. So emo shliach nami yovid. So maybe he's able to what? To be a shliach? To be the shliach of the Jew to bring about the same result. Because the rationale of Rabbi Yochanan, that if you're not within the parsha, you cannot. That's only where you can't bring about that result. But we find the goy can bring about that result. If he'd have his own tevel, if he's mafrish, it's a valid hafrosha. It's a valid tithing. Kamashmon gamatem matem b'nei bris, avshluchem b'nei bris. Just as you're a ben bris, your shliach has to be a Jew. He cannot be the shliach of the Jew to be mafrish truma. That's the gamatem. Yeah. Let's take a look at Rashi. Wait, before. 1 second. What do you mean he's doing? Is Afrosha? Is Afrosha. That means he can bring about the result. So if you tell me that it's his field is Tevil, okay, but maybe his Afrosha is nothing. His action's nothing. Because he has no relevance to it. 1 second. Before he asks the question, let's see Rashi. Shetarmu Shelohem. The effect of his afrosha, of his tithing, it assumes the status of truma. Therefore, a non-Kohen is not permitted to eat it. Now, what is this position? Why the produce, the grain, or the produce of the goy is considered tevel, and therefore, when he tithes it, it's considered a valid tithing. The ksavar and kinul of the gechom beretz lafkia. That even when a non-Jew owns a field in Eretz Yisrael, he does not revoke its status. It's considered kedusha. Now we have a new problem. Now, to be obligated to be mafresh, for something to be tevel, what do you need? You need gemar malocha. It has to be processed. If a person goes out to the field and he wants to pick wheat, and it's never processed, and he's neat the kernels, he needs no afrosha. It's not tevel. Tevel is only after gemar malocha, because the Torah refers to it as the gondcha. The gondcha means processed grain. After it's processed, before it's processed, you have no obligation to be mafresh. It's not tevel. So the question is, the non-Jew, that means when he processes it, that means he's processing it, or the Jew processed the goys. But even if the non-Jew goes and does what we call miruach, he winnows. He threshes it, then they winnow it. You know, they throw it up and to separate the chaff from the kernel. The winnowing of the goy does not exempt it from the status of what? Of tevel. It's considered bona fide tevel. It's considered gemar malocha. We'll see. It's not simple, because the Torah uses the word degoncha. What's the inference of degoncha? Yours. It seems to be excluded that the non-Jew does it. If the non-Jew does the processing to bring it to its final result, right? It would be exempt. That's he quotes Gemara Menachos. Let's see Rashi. Well, that's a question. If it's not the Gondcha, so why, if the non-Jew goes and it's mafresh, why is it tevel? Why is it truma? If he processed it and turns the Gondcha, only your processing brings about tevel, not the processing of a goy. So why is it tevel? And therefore his afrosh is valid. So, 1 second. No, he could own it, but the question is his ownership. How does it affect the status of that field? Do we see the field like it's elsewhere, or it's still considered? It has kedushas Eretz Yisrael. Therefore, the crop has kedusha. Oh, good. So that umiruach, if you go chavim, that's exactly what it says. Eino potir min truma, and the miruach, the winnowing of the non-Jew, does not exempt it from truma. Ubenoches yolif lo taimo mid the gondcha trei zimni. The word gondcha is mentioned twice in that parsha of hafroshes truma. It means your grain that you processed. So if you have the inference, we have a principle. Ein miyut achamir elo the rabos. If the Torah reiterates something twice, it means it comes to include. It's inclusive, not exclusive. If it would have said the gondcha once, that means your dogon, your processing, not the goy's processing. But since the Torah mentions the gondcha twice, the gondcha is l'rabos. It comes to include not only your tithing, your processing, even if the non-Jew processes the wheat or the grain, it's what? It assumes the status of tevel. Let's see in a moment. So therefore, that we're saying that the effect of the goy is considered effective, his truma is truma, and it's his field. So first he says his ownership does not revoke the status of the kedusha of the field, right? And kini be'ertzo lafkia, the acquisition of the non-Jew does not revoke the status of Eretz Yisrael. So the produce grew in Eretz Yisrael. Now we have no problem. But what about the processing? You have to have Gemar Melocha. It says the Gondcha. The answer is, since the Torah reiterates the Gondcha twice, therefore it includes its Larabos. Even the Digun, even the processing of a goy. 1 second. So the Gemara asks, well, the Reb Shimon, the Potar, Reb Shimon argues. Reb Shimon says that the truma that's taken by a goy is not valid. It's not valid. It means nothing. That not truma so v'kochovim b'damas v'chayim lechomesh. What's the halacha that if a person inadvertently eats truma? Truma. So you have to pay principal plus a fifth. Gzer sakosov. It says v'chamishiso yosef olav. You have to add a fifth if you eat truma. Okay? What happens? So therefore it says if you eat the truma that was tithed by a non-Jew, you have to pay principal plus a fifth. So that means it's bona fide truma. What happens if it intermingles in a mixture? It's medamas. That means it's what? Because it's truma. Truma is botel. You have to have a ratio of 100 to 1, right? That's the ratio of subsuming truma. So the Tanakama says truma sovikochovim, the truma that was tithed by a goy, medamas, it's considered a mixture of yisur. And also, chayvin al-chomesh. Okay, so according to Tanakama, what does the Gam come to teach me? That although the tithing of the non-Jew is effective, nevertheless, he cannot represent the Jew to be the shliach. Because he's not a ben bris, because he's not a Jew. So Reb Shimon, Poter, Reb Shimon says no. Reb Shimon says if you eat the truma that a goy was mafresh, you pay nothing. Not principal. Why? Because it's not truma. So if that's the case, atem gam atem lomali. So what does he do with the gam? Right? Because now it's no different than the Eved in regard to marriage. That if you have no relevance to the whole subject matter, right? If it's understood, you can't be a shliach. You can't affect something which you can't affect yourself, not being an agent. Right? So according to Reb Shimon, the word gam is superfluous. So gadaita chamino. Now, this Gemara is a little difficult. So gadaita chamino. I would have thought, hova mamar, atem v'lo arisim. It says you and not your sharecropper. Now, what's a sharecropper? A sharecropper has an ownership. He gets a percentage. Let's say he works the field. The sharecropper belongs to so-and-so. He plants. He does everything. Cultivates the field. His payment is a certain percentage of the crop. That's a sharecropper. That's an oris. So you would say that maybe the oris is able to take truma on the portion, not only on his own portion is understood he can take truma, right? It's his. What about the portion of the what of the owner of the field? Atem v'lo arisa. No, if he's not appointed to be a shliach. If he can do it on his own without being appointed as the agent of the one who owns the field. Atem v'lo arisa. Although the oris has a percentage of the ownership of the grain, nevertheless, atem v'lo arisa. You and not the sharecropper. Atem v'lo shutfin. What about your partner? Two people are equally, they own a field, partnership. Could the partner tithe not only his share, could he tithe his partner's share, although the partner didn't appoint him to be a shliach? Atem v'lo shutfim. Your partner cannot do it unless he's your agent.
He might have the share of the other guy.
No. What are you talking about? I have tevel. I say it's yours. If I give you the tevel, of course it's understood. If they haven't split it, it's understood. He can't.
When they split it, if you don't pull Pereira, they give up 50% of the
Okay. Let me tell you what's complicated. What you're asking is not complicated. It's much more complicated when you're asking. Before Brera, forget about Brera. Okay? I don't want to introduce new concepts now. Okay, let's keep it simple. Let's keep it simple. Okay, you learned Zeroim before we start the share in the morning. Let's continue with Zeroim. Okay. Atem v'lo shutfim. You and not your partner. Your partner cannot tithe the whole harvest unless he makes you a shliach, even though you have 50% of the ownership. Atem v'lo apitropis. The court appoints a guardian over the assets of minors. So he has a certain power of attorney, but factually you're not a shliach. First of all, you can't have a shliach. They're minors. The apitropis cannot. Atem v'lo atore m'sheinu shelo. But you cannot tithe something that's not yours. You know, we say zochel nodem shelo b'fonov. So maybe even if he doesn't appoint me, I could tithe his. You cannot tithe it.
If you know that the guy's not going to tithe?
Still, you cannot.
No, according to Reb Shimon, because you don't have an ownership share.
We're talking about Jews. These are all Jews here. What is this has nothing to do with Reb Shimon? What does this have to do with Reb Shimon?
You don't have a share in the deed. They're assuming that you don't have a share in the other guy's produce.
What we're talking about now has nothing to do with Reb Shimon. This has nothing to do with Reb Shimon. Machlokes Reb Shimon and the Tanakama is in regard to a non-Jew. Now we're talking about Jews. Everybody agrees to this. The Chachomim and Reb Shimon, Atem v'lo arisem, Atem v'lo shutfim, Atem v'lo apitropis, Atem v'lo term sheinu shelo. Nobody argues this. That's what Atem is coming to teach me. So maybe I would say, just as in all these other contexts, the partner, the sharecropper, cannot take unless he's appointed to be a shliach. Maybe even a shliach, the Torah, this is like mitzvah shebegufo. The only way you're able to bring about the effect, you personally have to be the one, the owner has to do the tithing. It can't even be delegated through a shliach. That's the meaning of atem. Kamash malon gam. So Reb Shimon uses the gam to teach me that. That what? That even though in regard to all these other situations, it's not valid, but if the person is the shliach of the owner, shliach shalom kamoso, the shliach is able to bring about that result. Okay? Now, let's get back to the difficulty. Just simple. The Torah says to be able to tithe, you have to own the grain. Otherwise, you're not qualified. Me being a sharecropper, what is even the consideration that I'm able to tithe somebody else's? So you'd say, Atem teaches me. We're going from, if we already said a shutef can't, you have to tell me, right? So you have to say it's lo zu avzu. Not only this, even that. Or, it's like, tell me, in truth, it's not a chiddush. If the partner cannot, and the sharecropper, somebody who has no interest whatsoever, is there even a consideration? He should be able to tithe. It's understood he can't tithe. Okay? But still, what's the consideration? If the halacha is that you have to be an owner to tithe, right? So if you're a sharecropper, what does a sharecropper have to do? Because you're a sharecropper. Because I have an interest in the harvest. I have a 30% interest in the harvest. So what if it's the whole harvest? 30% of the harvest. And what you don't, you don't. That you be able to teach it. We say, Eino de Makdish Davar. Okay, we have two lamdonim here. Terrific. Okay, good. No, it's good. I was thinking differently. Atem. We're talking about you're affecting something. If not for atem, I would think a person's able to tithe even without permission. Right? If the Torah wouldn't have written atem. If I go and slaughter somebody else's animal without permission, and it's a valid shechita, is the animal kosher? It's kosher. Because what is shechita? Shechita is an act, just purely a physical act. Maybe hafrosha, it's a physical act. Say, what is a physical act? Tithing. I say this is truma. How is that a physical? How does that bring about truma? Shechita is you cut both simonim, and you're a qualified shochet. Okay, see, factually, we the Rishonim explained. We say Eino the most of she'ena shalom. I cannot affect somebody else's thing negatively, right? The person bows to somebody else's animal, right? For idolatry, it doesn't affect it. Does not become an idolatrous object. The person is no avodah zarah, but the object is not affected. Why? Because the principle, you can't affect somebody else's object negatively. So if I take milk and add it to your meat, is your meat milk? Is it basar b'cholov? Becomes yisur no. So if that becomes, so why would I bow to whatever the item, the object, even if the object's not mine, it's worshipped. We say no, you cannot. The object retains its permitted status, although you did an act of idolatry. One thing has nothing to do with another. No, the answer is because the Torah says, what is basar b'cholov? It's a mixture of milk and meat. If actually there's milk and meat, there's milk in the meat, and you're able to taste, the ratio is not enough that the milk cannot be tasted, it's basar b'cholov. Here, there's halacha to affect something, to affect it, to take on a status. There's a status, it has to be yours. You cannot affect something status-wise unless it's yours. Okay? So here also, tevel is chulin. Tevel is chulin. So what is even the consideration that I should be able to what? Can I sell something of yours to a third party without your... Right? Atem, let's go to the last one. Atem v'lo atorem eshe'enu shalo. It has to be yours, but you can't touch somebody else's harvest. You have no interest. There you have no interest. But if not for atem, I would think maybe you can. How can you? What's even the consideration? But yeah, but you're creating truma. I'm just the same idea. How could you even consider? Factually, could I consecrate your animal? I can't consecrate your animal. I'm taking something which monetarily, if you want to be mekadosh with tevel, right? If you want to be mekadosh with tevel, what's the benefit?
The benefit is now you can eat everything else.
But you're affecting it. I'm affecting a percentage of the man's harvest, then now that is off limits to him. It's no longer your money. It doesn't make a difference. It's considered. It has nothing to do with eating. What about value? It's called. Before that, it's called your money. Afterwards, it's called mom and coin. By designating the truma, now it's mom and coin. It's no longer your money. Before, so what? No, you can't eat it. You could sell it. You could sell tevel. Tevel you could sell. So that person will have to take truma, but I could sell. I'm the full owner of the tevel. Once you tithe it, the truma monetarily, in no context is it yours. Right? You want to be mekadosh now with the truma. You can't be mekadosh with the truma any longer. It's not monetarily. It's not your truma. What about the last case? The last case. No. Hatorem eshe'enu shalo. The last case not. You have no interest whatsoever. You're not a guardian, you're not a sharecropper, you're not a partner. I still need Atem to tell me that you're not able to do it. You're not able, but there'll be consideration without Atem. You're a third party, you have no relevance. That's a shliach. If it's mizakir, it's a shliach. That's a shliach. Right? So I would think Atem tells me even you can't even, not even a shliach. Atem means you personally have to be the one to tithe. So I need Gam to say no. It's true. All the instances we mentioned that it's not effective, it's correct. But if it's a shliach, Gam says no. But shliach is the equivalent of you. That is the equivalent of you. Meaning, I would think it's the equivalent of like mitzvah shebegufo. Right? I mean, whoever heard shliach shouldn't work? Why shouldn't shliach work? The answer is because I have a miut. Atem means you physically, like we discussed regarding mila. There's a question: is a mila a mitzvah shebegufo? Could a father delegate the mila through a shliach? Well, no, it's a mitzvah shebegufo. We discussed this. Say maybe truma is a mitzvah shebegufo. Torah wants you personally, for instance, smicha. Smicha on a korban is a mitzvah shebegufo. You cannot delegate smicha. The person has to do the smicha himself. You personally have to lean on the korban. You can't designate a shliach to lean on your behalf. Okay? So here also, that's what I would have thought. Atem v'lo shluchachem. As the oris cannot be, as the shutif cannot be. But again, they're not comparable. What is in the consideration that the third party, because as he can't, so you can't make a shliach. Oh, yeah. Okay. But let's get back to the others. I'm not on the list. Shutfin, Arisin, Abitropis.
Therefore, you would think that you could tie. You might have to tie because you have an interest in whatever each part of the harvest.
No, there's no question. If the agreement is I can take 50% of the crop, I can take 50%, set it aside, I can tithe it. Right?
Right.
Okay? So that's Shutfin. That's not the case. Lo Shutfin. Shutfin means you're tithing it totally. Not your half, the total.
Because you may end up with the half that you end up with, maybe the half that is really a partner's half. That's fine.
Let's say the agreement is we divide 50-50. One partner says, you take whatever you want. That's nothing to do with Brera. Nothing with Brera. You take whatever you want. Regardless of when they divide it. The understanding is we're going to divide this. Does it make a difference to me which half of the grain?
When they divide it,
Makes no
it's
difference.
already piled up. It's already, now they divide it. It's already in the gut. It's in the press. They put all their grapes in the press together.
I hear. What about they're not dividing wine? They're dividing grain.
Grain, once it's piled up, once the fear of taking...
Maybe. So we have to get involved. What is a shutif? Do you own 100% of everything and then we divide? Okay. And what about apitropis? He's a guardian. He has no ownership. Guardian has no ownership. But yet we need our attempt to say that the guardian cannot do it. Right? So that you could say oris is a degree of ownership and shutfin. Okay? So how do you understand apitropis? So I was thinking. So this is what I was thinking. Right? Without the footnote in the art scroll. Okay? There's a Gemara, it says, there's a halacha that if a person goes and designates something to be off limits through neder, I say, this loaf of bread should be off limits to me. Right? Konim, kikor ze olai. This kikor, this loaf is konim. Then you take another loaf, which is chulin, which is not off limits to you with a neder, and say, I want B to be like A. That's what you say. You want B to be like A. What's the status of B? He didn't use the term konim. This should be konim to me, which is the language you use for a neder. He says B should be like A. Wait, Howard's going to give a ruling on this. B should be like A. What is it? B assumes the identical status as A. That's called hatfosa. You attach B to A, B assumes the status of A. Why? No. It has nothing to do with your daim. Nothing to do with your daim. It's called hatfosa. No, a third party goes. And he says, I want B to be like A. It's not because you created it. A third party says, I want B to be like A. B becomes like A. Of course, it says, lindo neder, that if a person is a neder, you could be matfis, you could draw A to be B to be like A. Because it's lindor neder. What if you have a piece of nevelo? You have nevelo. And I say, I want this kosher piece of meat to be like the nevelo. it doesn't work. Because it says, Lindor neder, Dovra nodav lo Dovra osur. Yeah? Only something which something which was, the provision was neder, not something that initially was osur, but the Torah prohibited it. Nevei lo chazer, whatever it may be, that's the Torah. The Torah created that. Neder is man-made. That's man's creation. Okay? So the Gemara says, what about something we call, a person says, chalos aron. What's chalos aron? We're talking about, that's truma. And then a person makes truma, and then afterwards he says, B should be like A. So it says chalos aron also. Love B is permitted. So Tosas asks a question over there in the Dorim. Now how does truma become truma? Because you tithed it. So that's man-made. That's the equivalent, that's bidei odom. Until you mafish truma, it's not truma. So if that's the case, so when you say B should be like A, it should be no different than the netter, which is A, and you say B should be like A, B becomes A. That's Tosas' question. You have the question? Okay? We'll get there. So Tosas answers that what is Tevil? Tevil is the truma lies within the Tevil. What you're doing is you're just identifying which is the truma. So the truma is a reality of just the being. Processed wheat that grows in there has truma in it. What you do is you're only identifying where the truma is. That's all you're doing. So who created the Issa Truma? Not you. The Issa Truma is what is intermingled in that mixture. The Torah says you have the ability to identify where it is. What you say where it is, but what you say what it is, you didn't create that. Wait a second. You want to ask questions? I can ask you questions all day long here. Okay? So let's understand what Tosas says. Tosas says, Tevel is what? Is chulin the truma muravin zebazeh. And all the responsibility of the person is to identify where it is. When you identify it, that becomes where that is the truma in the mixture. That's what Torah says. You just when you say it, we do it. Lahavdil. We're talking about drones, strikes. You just have to identify the target. We press the button. So the person is not the one. Who sends the missile? Whoever sends the missile. Lahavdil. You just have to identify. Once you identify it, Hashem says that's truma. That's the truma in the mixture. So who's creating the Isser? HaKadosh Baruch Hu is creating the Isser. Therefore, it's not Davar HaNoder, that's Davar Osir. You hear it? So if you want to say 99% of the harvest should be truma, which is a lot more than 1/40th, 99% of the harvest is truma. Because Torah says, whatever you identify to be truma, God says, I will make that truma. That's all it is. So we're talking about it's an identifying factor. So I would think, something? Maybe anybody can identify it. You don't have to be an owner. Maybe you don't have to be an owner to identify it. If it's creating something, then you have to be an owner to be magdish. When you consecrate an animal, until you consecrate it, what is the basic consecration? It's the one who consecrates it. It's not, Hashem says, when you identify it, there it's amiros levokim miseros lehedjit. It's like when you do a transaction with another party, the commercial transaction. You do an act of transfer, amiros legavor, your statement to Hashem is kimiseros lehedjit. It's the equivalent of giving it over to an ordinary person. But who's there? Who's doing the transfer? The person's fully transferring the object from his domain into the domain of Hegdish. So of course that has to be yours. That's kiyagdish ish es beso. It has to be your object, your item, your asset. Here it's not. You're just identifying it. So maybe when it comes to identification, whoever identifies it, you're able to. 1 second. You're able to. Atem, no, only atem. Atem v'lo shluchem. Atem, I'd say, v'lo arisin. Atem v'lo apitropis. So you'd say, apitropis, since he was appointed as the guardian, he has some right, because he oversees all the assets of the what? Of the minors. The estate of the minors. Atem v'lo apitropis. No, you have to be the owner. You have to be the full owner. The full owner of everything. As a result of that, what you say means nothing. Okay? That's the Havmi. Because over here, again, It's not you're creating, it's there, it's purely identifying. So maybe the Torah is saying when you identify, you don't have to be an owner to identify because you're not creating it. Atem, no. Even though you're only identifying it, but for the Torah to respond to your identification, you must be an owner. That's atem below A, B, C, D. That's the idea. Okay? That's how I understand it. So you'd say maybe even the identification has to be you. Even your shaliach cannot. Because this is like a mitzvah shebegufo. Gam, if the shliach shlishom kamoso, as we say elsewhere, we apply that same principle in the context of parshas truma. Okay, now let's go back to you. What's bothering you?
But the apotropos is the odd case out. Because he clearly doesn't have any interest in.
Doesn't make a difference. But since he's there to serve the minors,
He's there to serve them, right?
the totality of their assets, on their and it's their interest,
Right.
therefore maybe he has that right to be an identifier.
The note here makes a differentiation between whether the orphans need the grain now or they need it later. If they need it
Doesn't make a
now,
difference. Again, it's because it's beneficial. It's because he's acting in a context where it's beneficial to them. The footnote says what again? What does footnote say?
It brings down the Gemara here.
That what?
That
Muslim.
the administrator should not separate truma that will be stored away for later sale or consumption. Rather, he should wait for the orphans to do it.
Okay, but that has to do with hefker bezn hefker.
No.
That has to do with hefker bezn hefker. But why can't he? If not for atem, he would be able to do it. He would be able to do it. It's only because atem v'lo apitropsin. Atem, you and not the administrator. But even when they need it, you shouldn't be qualified.
No, it says if
I'm
they
telling
need
you,
it
I'm
now,
explaining to you why.
Yeah, I know, it's for their benefit.
No, because that's hefker bezn hefker. It's hefker bezn hefker.
What about a case where it's not his at all?
What's a nut? It'd be the same thing.
Would he also be able to identify?
No, maybe.
Without the attack. Why should you think that?
Why not? Why not?
Because the owner doesn't want
So what? It has to be. It's there. It has to be identified.
Right, but the owner will identify something that's advantageous to him. The guy who doesn't own it will make it something that is more valuable.
So if you say what he said, that this is only summing it up. The reason why all this is because it's the equivalent of taking something that's not yours. If you have no interest whatsoever, it's understood. But if you have an interest, maybe yes. But again, it's only because it's identifying. Okay, let's go further. Somewhere says, Honicho, the B'Shumen Korcho. So we're saying, according to B'Shumen Korcho, how do we learn? Why do we have the Tzara Shaveh? He's the one who cited Korban Pesach, correct? V'shochlo zo kol kal adas Yisrael. Is it possible that everybody should slaughter one animal? Evidently, shlich shom kamoso. That the agent is the equivalent of the person himself. Okay? So therefore we have three examples of shlichus. We have get, we have truma, and we have korban pesach. So why is gam by korban pesach, by truma superfluous? Because I'm able to learn truma from gittin, from gerushin, and from kochim, right? Says that that's very good according to Shuben Korcho. Elo Rebbe Yonason, the mapkul haikro the Josh Achrinim Nolek. How does he know? He uses, was see in a moment, that he interprets the pasuk of V'shochlo kol adas Yisrael differently than Reb Shumen Korcho. The Tanya, we learned about Reb Yonason Omer Minayish Kol Yisrael Kulan Yotzim Pesach Echod. How do we know all Jews can be Yotzei with the same Korban Pesach? She Nemar, here it means literally. V'shochlo so kol kal adas Yisrael bein arboim. V'chikol hakol kulam shochtin. Lo yishochet ele echod. Ele mikan. Shekol Yisrael yotzim b'pesach echod. Let's stop for a minute. So in what way is the argument of Shimon Korcho? So Rashi explains, what's the halacha? You have partners in the Korban Pesach, and there is not enough meat for all the people to participate. To be considered achila, you need a minimally a kazayis. You eat less than a kazayis, it's not considered you've eaten. So let's say you have 100 people participating, and there are only 90 kazayim of meat on this particular small sheep. So then it's not valid, right? Because it has to be able to accommodate all the investors in the Korban Pesach. Reb Shimon Korcho says, no, one thing has nothing to do with another. that even though one cannot fulfill his mitzvah achilas Pesach, it's valid. It's considered a valid Korban Pesach. And how does he know this? It says the whole Jewish people could participate in one animal. I mean, there's no question. There's not enough meat in one animal to accommodate all Klal Yisrael. So what do you see over here? That even though you're not going to be able to eat of the korban, you still yotze the shechita. So he's back to square one. But it says they're all slaughtering it. How could they all slaughter it? He'll call kulam sheochtim in the shech leechod. Can't she call Yisrael yotz pesach echod? So if that's the case, shlich b'kochim nole. So let's get back to the simple understanding. Tosas asked the question. What do you mean? What do you mean shlich b'kochim nole? But it still says shochtu, right? It says, according to Rabbi Yonason, that he says, or they call it the Yotze Korban Pesach, meaning even though there's no achilas Pesach, you're not able to eat of it. Yotze, but could they all slaughter one? So how does he know shlichus by kochim? What do you mean how does he know shlichus by kochim? But it says they're all slaughtering the Korban Pesach. How could it be considered they're all slaughtering it if they all have an obligation to slaughter, and this one animal is considered as if they're all slaughtering it? So evidently it's clearly implicit. It's because the shlichus. So the Gemara says, so if so, according to Rabbi Yonason, shliach b'kochim minole. What do you mean minole? That's exactly that's what the pasuk is saying. You can have one animal, and it's considered that every Jew is slaughtering that animal because they have one representative. How does that happen? Because there's a principle of shlichus, shlich shram kamoso. 1 second. We'll have to see Tosis. So our answer is the Dilma Shiny Hoss of this Leishutvis Begavayu. It says maybe over there, when could you make a shliach? When does shlichus apply? If everybody has relevance to that particular situation. Everybody has an ownership. If you have an interest in the animal, there's a shutvis, you're able to have shlichus. But if a person has no relevance to that particular situation, maybe you cannot be a shliach. If you have an interest, you could be a shliach. If you have no interest, you can't be a shliach. So, for instance, if we're partners in a kri, right? So one partner can make his other partner a shliach to tithe on his behalf. But what about a third party who has no relevance to the harvest? Maybe their shlich cannot be involved. Then you have to do it yourself. Meaning the only one who's qualified to bring about the result is that he's able to affect this entity to some degree. But over there, not. Now, just as an introduction, we have like just a minute. The Gemara says like this. Now we can get to Brera. The Gemara says in the 5th parak in Be'ah that when Yom Tov begins, everybody has his area where he's able to go, his tchum. So let's say you have two people, they're partners, and they barrel the wine. And one person makes a tchum. His tchum is he could go to the north to a certain extent. And the other partner makes a tchum that he could go to the south. So we say that when Yom Tov begins, the item that belongs to one person cannot be taken to a location out of the tchum of whoever owned it. For instance, if Yom Tov begins, I have a garment. And my tchum is I could go 3,000 amos to the north. And the person who wants to borrow it from me, he could only go, he goes 3,000 amos to the south. Because his tchum's to the south. Now, but the one who made the tchum to the north, he can't go that additional 1,000 amos because his tchum is to the north, correct? So if that's the case, and now the person borrows it on Yom Tov, could he take that garment to where he normally could go? He's not permitted. Because the garment identifies with the person who had it in his domain when Yom Tov began. It's locked into that domain. That's where it's at. So we'll discuss this tomorrow.